Okay, thanks for watching another video. So this video is all about paper 1 and we're focusing on section 2, which is the creative writing section. And the aim for this video is simply to outline the requirements of this section and also to give you some basic tips on how to succeed and how to do well in this section. So we'll get straight into it. What do you have to do? Well, you receive 15 out of your 45 marks for paper 1 in this section, and you're asked to spend 40 minutes to complete this section in entirety, just to make sure that you give equal time to each of the sections. And there's 3 things that you'll receive in this section. You'll receive a question, a stimulus, and a rubric. So you'll be asked a question that requires you to create a creative piece, and you may be required to write in a form other than a short story. In class, we're going to be focusing on how to write a short story, and that's what you'll also be doing for your portfolio assessment task. But it's important that you at least know the structures of different types of creative pieces. For example, diary entries, memoirs, autobiography. I know that I was stumped in my HSC because I was given a memoir, and I had to quickly think about what a memoir was and write in a style that suited it, just so I could do it correctly and adjust the story that I had prepared. The rubric basically gives you information about what you're going to be marked on in this section of the exam. Treat it kind of like the marking criteria at the back of an assessment task. Now, this won't be something that should trick you like the question. It's something that is common pretty much in every single exam and will have these 3 elements to you. So you'll be marked on 1, how well you show an understanding of the dynamic nature of the concept of discovery. 2, you'll be assessed on how well you create a story based off the stimulus that you're given. And number 3, you'll be assessed on how well you express your ideas using language and structure. So for example, using lots of language techniques appropriately to communicate creatively, and also that your story has a clear structure, that you're using paragraphs appropriately, that you're using things like dialogue, and that you're choosing language which is appropriate for the story that you're writing. Number 2, the question itself. Now, this is something that we're not given. And you'll be given a range of different question styles. There won't be one way, but it will instruct you on how to create your creative piece that focuses on a particular type of discovery from the rubric. So for example, the question that I'm about to show you asks you to create a story that is about discoveries and childhood. So obviously the story that you create should have references to childhood at least, or be from a perspective of an adult who reflects on their childhood, similar to a rediscovery. You could be asked to write about anything from the rubric, so it's really important that you know it. For example, you could be asked to show the impact of a discovery for the first time in a creative piece, or the impact of a rediscovery. The final thing that you'll receive is called the stimulus. Now, the stimulus could be anything. It could be a visual, it could be a quote, it could be a statement, or it could be a story starter, like a sentence to start or a sentence to end. And you could have multiple choices rather than just one to choose from. You have to show, and this is part of the rubric, you have to show that you've used the stimulus as a central part to your story. You can't just ignore it, because if you ignore it, you're going to be missing out on those A and B range responses. So in this example of a stimulus, the stimulus is a range of old photographs. One is of a small girl, one is of a teenager in front of an old style truck, and all of them are black and white and suggests that the photographs have been taken a long time ago, and you can tell it also by their costumes. So the first element that I find from this stimulus is that a rediscovery could happen. A person could find one of these photographs and it could trigger a memory, or there could be some sort of writing on the back of the photograph, or there could be some event that's attached that can be discussed in more detail in the story. So the visual is being used as a central element to create the story and to explore discovery, but then obviously the story can take on its own path and a whole new world and event can occur. So just some final thoughts. We've just gone through the 3 main parts that you should read before you start writing your creative writing piece in the exam. What you should know is that your creative writing piece should be between 800 and 1,000 words, because a story that's only a page or a page and a half or even 2 pages doesn't have the detail that's required to reach anything more than a low C, and that is a well-written story. So we really need to be aiming not just for length but also for quality, because the more we talk about in our creative writing piece and the more we explore, then obviously the deeper we can explore the concept of discovery and its impact on an individual.